Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to this very interesting topic for today's panel discussion. The hero of today's discussion is cryptocurrency. Our hero has come a long way, I think, since it first made its appearance in the world. It's been controversial. It's been the talk of the town. Nassim Nicholas Taleb has officially told us that its value is zero or negative. But we now have much greater clarity to have a nuanced discussion on the navigation around the cryptocurrency regulation in India, rather than just guessing whether it's a bird, whether it's an asset, whether it's a currency, or whether it's Superman. So at this stable ground now, where we can begin with the premise that cryptocurrency is presently slotted comfortably as an asset, and the proposed central bank digital currency that is being researched on by RBI shall be the currency equivalent perhaps in the crypto space. It's come a long way and moved much beyond just Bitcoin. And we have a very interesting panel of experts with us today, belonging to varying genres of thought leadership. And we will keep today's discussion technical, but I can't help it, and I want to begin with just one icebreaker question. So I want to ask you guys to tell me in exactly one sentence the year, the place, and the context of how you first found out about cryptocurrency, and if you remember the price of Bitcoin or some other cryptocurrency at that time. So let me begin. It was 2013. It was Hyderabad, where all things experimental in tech, tax, and finance happened first many times. I found it weird. My reporting partner wanted to write an article about something called cryptocurrency. He said it's mined out of nothing by IT engineers. And Bitcoin at that time was 20,000 rupees. So perhaps the moral of that story is that I wish I would have bought some at that time. Okay. So, Priyam, what about you?
So it's a very interesting story, actually. I was writing the IELTS, the NLU Delhi entrance exam in 2013, right? And there was this question on an MCQ, right? What's a Bitcoin? And I got that question wrong. And I went back and checked. And that's how my first interaction with Bitcoin happened.
And what about you, Abhishek?
Hi, Kritika. Good afternoon, everyone. It's great to be here. I really first heard of Bitcoin in early 2018. I must confess I was somewhat late to the party. And this was right when the RBI issued the infamous circular prohibiting banks from providing services to crypto entities, which we all know was later struck down for being a disproportionate regulatory measure. The Bitcoin rate was roughly around, I think, 10 to 11,000 USD at that point in time, which translated by the exchange rate prevailing then to approximately 5.5 lakh Indian rupees. So yeah,
still fair enough, compared to the prices now. And Sushanth, what about you?
Yeah, so the first interesting case that I got with regard to crypto was in 2017, and that too when I was in between watching a movie, and I got a client who messaged me on WhatsApp saying that, hey, look, I'm looking at a legal opinion to list out my crypto in the exchange, and I need it right away within few hours. And it was then I started thinking about crypto than watching the second half of the movie. So it was one of those moments when I was watching this famous movie called Bahubali. So it was very, very interesting at that point. And I was just trying to figure out how do you give a legal opinion for listing the same in an exchange? What are the parameters? And finally, I quickly happened to rush home and then word out a good opinion on how things move around. But in the meantime, I thought this is just somebody trying to play fun with me. So I just quoted a very high amount for that opinion. And I was, let me tell you, I was surprised by the time I came back out from the theater. I received a message from him saying that, hey, look, pass your account details, I'll transfer the payment. So this was something like I got in bonus for watching this movie. So that was my first interaction with crypto.
I think for you, the major takeaway and the plot thickens was so much higher than why did Kadappa kill Bahubali. I'm guessing it was part one in 2017. So So thank you so much, guys. I think, that helped us all get out of the post-lunch slumber, which our audience must perhaps be in right now. Sushanth, so it's very interesting to know that, you were contacted in 2017 with regard to cryptocurrency exchanges and getting crypto listed on the trading platform and those kind of things. So can we begin with a bang? Can you give us like 3 takeaways, techno-legal takeaways that we should keep in mind when working with cryptocurrency transactions in 2022?
Sure, definitely. See, I think the first key takeaway that we have to keep in mind is ultimately if crypto is nothing but information and data in the electronic format. I see by and large that a lot of coin exchanges even today, right? They focus more on the KYC and AML, but very little focus is put on data privacy and protection. So I feel that is one of the key takeaways from a techno-legal perspective that we can look at today. Because never mind, I was on the panel the other day on cryptocurrency, and I have, I don't want to name, but there are some 3 top exchanges who are right now doing fantastically in India. They've got in touch with me saying that how do we ensure compliance to, the data privacy and protection. So that being so, I believe that the focus has to be again on data privacy and protection. And number 2, cyber security legal framework is something that we'll have to look into from a cryptocurrency perspective, because not all the time that cyber security can be maintained, though blockchain talks about a very good amount of transparency and no nonsense issue. But I believe end of the day, all these cryptocurrencies are stored in wallets, which are digitally taking place. So I believe that cyber security legal aspects will be the second takeaway that would be of primary importance during this phase of 2022. And the third one being that if there is no law coming up very soon, I think we already started to see a lot of cyber crypto crimes that are taking place here, where people are trying to just make use of the advantage of absence of legislation and trying to lure people with regard to high investments in this crypto, and then trying to weaponize and target all the innocent individuals through this cryptocurrency trading and investment per se. So I believe that cybercrime is something that is here to stay. And this is the era, I will call this as a golden age of cybercrime, especially from a cryptocurrency perspective, and because we don't have the clarity with respect to any regulation pertaining to crypto. So though there are broad provisions under the IPC as well as under the Information Technology Act for any misuse of the same, but I believe that awareness is not still moved across to the people. And then, those are my 3 takeaways that I can see: data privacy and protection, cyber security legal framework, as also cyber crimes, the urge to push these below the envelope so that we can have a reasonably secured cryptocurrency trading and exchange taking place. So over to you, Kritika. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Sushanth. I think, it's very interesting how all of us who are working in various tech interface sectors, we are all facing the same issues. And perhaps the fact that cryptocurrency is having similar issues, like we are all working heavy on data privacy and cybersecurity. And there is an increasing interface of crimes, white collar crimes in all the areas that we are working, whether it be fintech, insurance tech. And I think that if cryptocurrency transactions are facing similar barriers or similar, nuances when you're doing transactions, perhaps they have really come of age, and it's high time that we, stop giving them stepbrotherly treatment and saying that, oh, there's something out of this world or something that, we don't understand. They are quite similar to other tech transactions, and they should perhaps be more mainstream. Talking about mainstream, Abhishek, Budget 2022 is here. Everyone's talking about it. And interestingly, you have also worked a lot with cryptocurrency exchanges in taxation and, helping them with those things. So can you throw some light, on what are the key tax perspectives to cryptocurrency in 2022? And does cryptocurrency, our hero, have a wish list for Budget 2022?
Sure. I'll try to keep it as brief as possible. So taxes in India are divided into two broad buckets. There's the income tax on the one hand and indirect taxes on the other. Indirect taxes comprise primarily of customs and goods and services tax, GST as we know it. So as far as taxation is concerned, again, there is a significant regulatory vacuum. As we've already highlighted, there is no direct regulation governing cryptocurrencies, and that is hurting us the most as far as taxation is concerned. We don't have any guidance whatsoever from the government as regards the manner in which crypto transactions should be brought to tax. Now, apparently, the government wants us to pay both income tax and GST on crypto transactions, but they are not telling us in clear terms how we should do it. That is the difficulty. The government wants us to pay tax, but they will not tell us how we should do that. So I'll just briefly walk you through some of the issues now. Let's start with GST. For something to be taxed under GST, it should either be a good or a service. GST is, after all, a goods and services tax. Everything else is automatically outside the purview of GST. So securities are outside GST, money is outside GST, even actionable claims, except for a few, are outside GST. Now, how do you classify cryptocurrencies? That's the moot question which even you highlighted in your opening remarks. Are they goods? Are they securities? Actionable claims? Money? What are they really? So they possess attributes of each of these, no denying that. We know that some tokens are akin to securities. Some tokens are purely stores of value. Some could be actionable claims. There is a clear use case for each of them. But in the absence of any guidance from the government as regards classification, how is the industry or how are the users supposed to pay tax? Right? Jurisprudence tells us that, okay, intangible assets are considered to be goods. Cryptocurrency is an intangible asset. Fair enough. Does it mean that cryptocurrency will attract 18% GST on every instance of sale? That is not only absurd, but also highly unviable. And what happens when you use that crypto to purchase, say, a vehicle? You're paying GST on the vehicle, and you're also paying GST on the cryptocurrency. So these are serious open issues which need urgent interventions. Now, then there's another angle to this. GST is chargeable only on transactions entered into in the course or furtherance of business. Now, one may argue, and very reasonably, that individuals who are casually selling cryptocurrencies or who have entered the space for investment purposes only should not pay any tax. Fair enough. But then the definition of business under GST law is also very wide. And in the absence of any regulatory certainty in this regard, there is a risk of non-payment of GST being seen as an instance of tax evasion, notwithstanding the fact that the non-payment may have been for completely bona fide reasons. Then there's taxation of domestic and foreign crypto exchanges. Again, are we going to tax them as electronic commerce operators? How is this going to play out? Do they collect consideration on behalf of their users and then settle accounts? Or does the transaction necessarily take place on a P2P basis? Who owns the wallets legally on these exchanges? Will there be a need to collect GST, TCS on every sale? Will there be a need for users to mandatorily obtain GST registration prior to undertaking any sale? These are all unanswered questions. Then there's an issue of receiving remittance in cryptocurrency against services exported outside India. So under GST law, one important condition for a service to qualify as an export and thereby not attract GST is that consideration should be received in convertible foreign exchange. Now, crypto is not a convertible foreign exchange. So there's a chance that a service which would have otherwise qualified as an export transaction is now suddenly subjected to GST for the sole reason that the remittance has been received in crypto. Again, deeply problematic.
And further problematic because we don't have a convertible foreign exchange definition in PEMA per se. So we keep wondering on whether we should consider a currency in that definition, freely convertible currency definition or not at all. So, it just becomes even worse.
Sure. And in an RTI reply, even RBI has responded by saying that they don't consider cryptocurrency as foreign currency. Now, legal tender, okay, it's okay that you're not considering it as Indian money or Indian legal tender, but they are also not considering it as foreign currency. That is again an issue. So now, again,
but don't you think, on that respect, now that we have clarity that almost all central banks are doing their experiments on CBDC, they will probably also just, set it aside and say, no, this is not our currency either.
Yeah, correct. But at least, like, for example, El Salvador has recognized it as legal tender, right? So at least keeping it in foreign currency will, okay, I mean, there would certainly be FEMA implications there, but just some guidance, some intervention is required is the point that I was trying to make. And as I explained, this was with respect to GST. Now there are issues under income tax also. If cryptocurrency is to be classified as goods, then will a foreign cryptocurrency exchange be subject to an equalization levy on each sale? Will there be a need to deduct TDS on sale of cryptocurrencies by an Indian resident through an online crypto platform? Then it's the issue of taxability of cryptocurrency income, your normal income. Will it be a business income, or will it be capital gains or other sources? The rates can go from 10 to 30%. How about secondary sale of tokens? What would be the cost of acquisitions? What about tokens generated through mining? Of course, I mean, as tax advisors, we rely on settled principles. There is jurisprudence. We rely on spirit of the law, foreign law guidance, etc. And we do try and offer a reasonable advice that's consistent with all of this. See, answers can be found in existing laws. I'm not saying that there are absolutely no answers, but will the government be willing to accept the position that we are taking? We're now at a point where this space, especially as regards taxation, has been operating without guidance for far too long. Every individual or entity venturing into this domain would expect legal certainty. Certainty is essential to make this space attractive for all stakeholders. And this is exactly what we would all be hoping the government delivers in this budget. More importantly, the proposed new regulation that was supposed to be tabled in 2021's winter session of Parliament that sought to ban private cryptocurrency should be scrapped. I mean, the idea of a central bank digital currency is welcome, but that should coexist with other cryptocurrencies. Banning is not the solution. Regulation based on consultation, that is the solution.
I think what we are all zeroing down now is on the importance of a use case linked to each cryptocurrency, and then distinguishing each of those cryptocurrencies on the basis of their use case. I think, that's a very interesting takeaway that you have given us from your points, Abhishek. And let's hope that certainty is brought in budget 2022, and this market that's already even informally, formally, whatever you may want to call it, it's a big volume of a market in India now from a tax perspective. So I'm sure that even the government must be looking at it to increase its revenue. Now,
certainly.
Thanks for that. Priyam, over to you now. Now, I understand that, we've come so ahead, and we talk a lot about regulation of crypto trading. We also talk a lot about taxes because, our pockets. But interestingly, in our pre-panel discussions, you pointed out that regulation of cryptocurrency is just so much more than, compliances or even the tax aspect of it. There's so much more food for thought. Like, for example, whether there should be regulation of cryptocurrency advertisement. Can you please share your thoughts on that and your crystal ball for 2022?
Sure, Kritika. Thank you for that question. I think the biggest problem for crypto advertisements in 2022 is, as Abhishek rightly pointed out, the lack of regulatory certainty, right? Like with all other aspects of cryptocurrency law, there is no certainty on how cryptocurrency advertisement should be regulated. In fact, like a number of other sectors, which at least have self-regulatory guidance on advertisements, we don't have that for cryptocurrencies. I'll give you an example. Like for fantasy sports, right? For a whole, like in a year or so, there was a huge uproar on how these platforms are advertising gambling or so, right? But then the industry came together. There was a self-regulatory code. Then guidelines were issued by ASCII as well, specifying what is the extent of disclaimers you need to give, the size of those disclaimers in your advertisements. And now you have a standard practice in all fantasy sport advertisements on how advertisements should be made, right? So there is a lack of similar consensus and uniformity in crypto advertisements. And I think the lack of regulatory certainty has a big role to play in that. But more than that, I think it's important for us to understand why prohibiting advertisements entirely may not be fruitful for the industry. And I think that is something that we've seen in some jurisdictions. So very recently, like 10 days back, Singapore published a set of guidelines prohibiting all forms of public advertisements by crypto service providers, right? So those sort of guidelines will not help, essentially because advertising is so crucial to all businesses to acquire new customers, right? And more so for financial services. We've seen in India how there is a reluctance in the public to invest in financial products. Even equities are not that widely accepted in India, right? So there is a need to advertise and at the same time inform the investors about the risk as well as the benefits of cryptocurrencies. And that can only come through responsible and fair advertising, right? So I think across the world, even though there is a lack of guidance on how cryptocurrency should be treated, or if at all they are assets, if they are currencies, like that discussion has taken a separate route. And even jurisdictions which do not specifically regulate cryptocurrencies, they are now planning to come up with regulations to at least regulate crypto advertisements, right? Again, so in the past 10 days, I already talked about Singapore. Even Spain has now come up with regulations to tackle crypto advertisements. What they now state is that all forms of crypto advertisements which are targeted at the masses, which means at people more than 1 lakh, should now be notified to the regulator at least 10 days in advance. Right. Similarly, in the UK, we're now seeing the Treasury has now published a consultation paper which talks about how crypto advertisements will be treated on the same lines as your other financial product advertisements, such as equities. Right. And that would mean that advertisements for crypto will also need to be fair, do not trivialize the risk associated with the assets, and responsible. Right. So the global movement or the global regulatory movement towards regulating crypto ads is also because of the aggressive advertisement that have taken place in the past, like the past year in particular, right? Even in India, we saw during the T20 World Cup as to how every second ad was a crypto advertisement, right? So it's particularly because of this aggressive advertising that it's caught the eye of the regulators. And they are now pushing for more responsible advertisements for cryptos as well. Now, I believe that mutual funds is a very good example as to how we should see crypto advertisements in the future, right? We've seen the mutual fund industry advertises responsibly. They have adequate disclaimers in place. They also have codes on how their advertisement should be. And because of that, there has been an increase in the number of investors who invest in mutual funds as well. And it's not that mutual funds advertise less, right? 1 in 3 advertisements on every cricket match is a mutual fund ad, right? But at the same time, they have responsible advertisements which inform people about the risk associated with the instrument in question, right? So I think a similar approach could be adopted for cryptos in India. In fact, a month back, it was reported that exchanges have now come up with a list of do's and don'ts for crypto advertisements, which included things like not promising returns, not having children in advertisements. And I think that's a positive step. As long as advertisements are responsible, it will lead to trust both ways, with the regulators as well as with the investors, right? And I also see that the BSEC, the Blockchain and Crypto Assets Council, which is part of the IAMI, is also now revising its code of conduct for crypto exchanges. So those are all encouraging signs. And what I see for the future is that a self-regulatory code with ASCII at the helm of it, like with many other sectors which have succeeded in the past, could work out very well for India. That's my
that sounds really interesting, Priyam, and I completely agree with you. Because we are all now, it's been so ingrained in us. The entire disclaimer of mutual funds investments are subject to market risk has got into our heads. They made it so clear and they've regulated it so well. And the interest in crypto is just growing every day. It's not like it's going to go down anytime soon. And as you're rightly pointing out, what we need now is to have more of an advocacy kind of an approach to these things, because we are a growing financial economy and people are looking for more and more options of investment and are actually seriously looking at cryptocurrency as an investment option nowadays. And so it's perhaps important that, cryptocurrency advertisement is done similar to financial products, as you're pointing out, going forward. And so it's so much more than just trying to twist people into not buying cryptocurrency or not trying to trade in cryptocurrency. It's more about making this more responsible. As a parting thing, I think what I would also want to highlight is what Sushanth pointed out. There is perhaps this fear of the ease with which cryptocurrency can be used for illegal activities like terrorism and, Hawala transactions or Benami transactions or things like that. And I think the more we bring it into the forefront and the, key domain, the more the possibility of them being used for side activities will reduce. And the more we responsibly regulate cryptocurrency, I think 2022 is going to be a good year for cryptocurrency enthusiasts as well as practitioners like us. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us today on this really short but interesting discussion on cryptocurrency in 2022. Over to you, BW Legal. Thank you so much for having us.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, everyone.